I am Rajesh Venkataraman, reading 120 words English Shorthand Dictation. I think you are all following my dictation, and after that, you transcribe into English also. Please like, share, and subscribe. We can start. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you this evening and especially to hear some of the remarks which you have made because they reflect many of my own views. I have always placed the greatest importance on what is now called the exchange of ideas. For this, it is important that people in different fields of activity should exchange views and should take part in nation building activities. Mr. Chairman, you have said many things about education in India and especially about the university education. I have often said that one of the major mistakes we have made after independence was not to change the system of education. Once we have proceeded along a particular channel, it is extremely difficult to make any changes. I agree you that the need is urgent and vital, and if we do not make the necessary changes, the future is dark. But having said this, I do not know how we can make the changes because it means upsetting a whole generation. In democracy, it immediately brings in many other difficulties. Nevertheless, I think a way will have to be found to change not only university education but everything else. Our education is not in tune with life in the present day India. Although now our children are learning more about their country than they did before, they still are not committed to the country. They are not given that intimate knowledge which generates a feeling of involvement in the country. They are not given the kind of social attitudes which modern India needs to go ahead. Education is important, but education is not just the acquisition of knowledge. It means adapting to changing conditions of modern society. As you have rightly said, not only in India, but all over the world is changing very fast indeed, and therefore the frustration among the youth is something which is universal. Everywhere, one after another, countries are finding that something is wrong with their educational process. Several countries are making the changes before the protest against a revolt. This is hardly the occasion, nor do we have the time to go into the details of the educational system, but it is something in which we need the help of teachers and scholars all over India. We should see not only what has to be done, but also how it can be done with the least dislocation and conflict. We must come to grips with the subject in its economic, political, and various other aspects. Whatever policy you may lay down, the art of conducting the foreign affairs of a country lies in finding out what is most advantageous to the country. We may talk about international goodwill and mean what we say. We may talk about peace and freedom and mean what we say. But in the ultimate analysis, a government functions for the good of the country which is governed, and no government can do anything which in the short or long run may be disadvantageous to the country. Therefore, whether a country is socialist or communist, its foreign minister should think of the interest of that country. The interest of peace is more important because the war comes everyone in the world suffers. In the long distance view, self interest demands a policy of cooperation with all other nations and also goodwill for other nations. Letter dated 10 December 1986 from the manager, Messrs. Best and Company Hyderabad to Messrs. Hari and Company Bombay. Dear sirs, with reference to your letter dated the 5th September, we have to inform you that the factory is under closure for the last 6 months and as such there is no production. As you may be aware, the main reason for the closure is that the workmen are on strike demanding higher wages and bonus. As far as the management is concerned, we are not able to pay them the increased wages and bonus demanded by them as the company has been incurring loss every month. One of the reasons for the continuous loss is that the cost of raw material has increased and there has also been severe power cut. You may be pleased to know that the power cut is likely to be relaxed shortly, and the workmen have now come forward to cooperate with the management and have requested us to reopen the factory without any further delay. Taking into consideration all these factors, we have approached our bankers for the financial assistance required by us, and they have promised to help us in this regard. We therefore expect to reopen the factory before the end of the next month and will be in a position to resume production. We will then be